Hello everyone, my name is Abdullah Al-Jazzaf and today I will be presenting my individual project for the course of Energy, Environment and Sustainability. The course code is EN8905. My chosen topic is Sustainable Development Goal 12, which focuses on responsible consumption and production. I selected food waste because it is not only a problem of throwing away food, it also means wasting the water, energy, land, labor, packaging, and money used before that food reaches us. In this project, I compare the current practice of sending food waste to landfills with digestion, which is a controlled process that can turn separated organic waste into biogas. I will explain the global and Bahrain's context, compare both systems technically, economically, and environmentally. Present the household audit data, discuss ethical and social impacts, and finish with recommendations for household, Bahrain Polytechnic, and Bahrain all in one. The aim of this project is to determine whether anaerobic digestion is a more sustainable alternative to landfill disposal for managing unavoidable household food waste in Bahrain. To answer this research question, I studied SDG12, compared both waste management systems, carried out a practical household food waste audit, and conducted an awareness activity. Finally, I used the results to develop recommendation and reached a balanced conclusion. SDG12 focuses on using resources responsibly and reducing waste. It encourages people to consume only what they need, recycle material whenever possible, and reduce pollution. 4 targets are especially relevant to my project, of which are using natural resources effectively, reducing food waste, increasing recycling and reuse, and improving public awareness. These targets are directly connected to the way we manage food waste and support more sustainable communities. Food waste is much more than simply throwing away food into the bin. Before the food reaches our homes, it requires water, land, electricity, fuel, packaging, transportation, and human labor. These are known as embedded resources because they have already been invested in producing the food when the food is wasted. All of these valuable resources are wasted as well. This is why reducing food waste benefits both the environment and the economy. Food waste is a major global challenge. Millions of tons of food are wasted every year, contributing to greenhouse gas emissions and unnecessary resource use. In Bahrain, most waste is sent to landfills, but there is an opportunity to improve waste management by separating the organic food waste and converting it into renewable energy through anaerobic digestions. This supports both environmental and sustainable and responsible resource management. The current method of managing food waste is landfill disposal. Food waste is mixed with general household rubbish, collected and transported to landfill sites. This is a system simply because it uses existing infrastructure and does not require waste separation at homes. However, it also has disadvantages such as valuable resources are lost, landfill space is used, and decomposing food waste produced methane, which contributes to climate change if it's not properly captured. Overall, landfill is convenient but does not support sustainable resource recovery. Now we move on to the future alternatives. Anaerobic digestion is a biological process where microorganisms break down food waste in the absence of oxygen before entering the digester. Food waste must be separated from other waste to avoid contamination. The process produces 2 main outputs: biogas, which can be used to generate electricity and heating, and the second project is digestate, which can be used after proper treatment. Although the system requires investment and skilled operator, it allows food waste to become a valuable energy resource instead of being sent to landfills. Now we move on to the technical assessment. From a technical perspective, landfill and anaerobic digestions both operate very differently. Landfill accepts mixed waste and is easier for households because no separation is required. In contrast, the anaerobic digestion needs clean, source separated food waste, and careful monitoring of conditions such as temperature and pH levels. While landfill is simpler to operate, anaerobic digestion offers much more recovery of energy and nutrition. Therefore, its success depends on good waste separation and proper system management. Now we move on to the economic assessment. Economically, landfill appears cheaper because the infrastructure already exists. Anaerobic digestion requires higher upfront cost from equipment, collection system, and plant operations. However, it also creates a long-term value by producing renewable energy, reducing landfill demands, and creating technical jobs. Although it's not always requires the cheaper option, anaerobic digestion becomes much more economically beneficial when the long-term environmental and energy benefits are considered. Now we move on to slide 10, which is environmental assessment. Environmentally, anaerobic digestion is generally the better option for unavoidable food waste. It captures methane in a controlled process and converts it into useful energy instead of releasing it into the atmosphere. It also reduces the amount of waste sent to landfill and supports resource recovery. However, preventing food waste should always be the first priority. The most sustainable solution is to avoid creating food waste before considering food energy recovery. To support my research, I completed a 7-day household waste audit involving a 6-person household. The purpose was to measure the amount of food waste produced, identify the different type of waste, and determine how much can be prevented or recovered through anaerobic digestions. This practical activity provided a real-life data that helped connect my research with everyday household behaviors. During the audit, food waste was collected separately from other rubbish and weighed under a digital kitchen scale. Each item was classified as avoidable, possibly avoidable, or unavoidable. I also recorded the reasons why the food was discarded and suggested possible ways to prevent similar waste in the future. This consistent method allowed accurate data collection through the 7 days. Over the past 7 days, the household produced a total of 9.81 kilograms of food waste, with an average of about 1.4 kilograms per day. I also calculated the average amount of waste produced per person and analyzed the different categories of food waste. These calculations helped me understand the scale of household food waste and identify areas where improvement can be made. Now we move on to the practical results. The results showed that around 18% of food waste was avoidable, meaning it could have been preventable through better planning or storage. The majority was unavoidable food waste, such as fruit peel, eggshells. Instead of sending these organic waste to landfill, it can potentially be used in anaerobic digestions to produce renewable energy. This demonstrates how preventable and energy recovery can work together for a better future. Ethical responsibility. Food waste is not only an environmental issue, but also an ethical one. Throwing away edible food means wasting valuable resources, while many people around the world still experience food insecurities. Reducing food waste is a shared responsibility between household, businesses, governments, and waste management companies. By working together, we can reduce waste, protect resources, and build a more sustainable future. Moving on to the social equity and community impact. A successful waste management system should be environmentally effective, while also being fair to everyone. Not all households have the same access to recycling or food waste collection services. Public education, affordable infrastructure, and worker safety are all important factors. Communities should also be involved in decisions about new waste treatment facilities to ensure that the system benefits everyone equally. As part of my project, I carried out a social awareness activity using WhatsApp. Participants first gave their consent before receiving information about SDG12 food waste and anaerobic digestions. Then they completed a short quiz, provided feedback about what they had learned. This activity helped measure public understanding and increased awareness of sustainable food waste management. Now we move on to the awareness activity evidence. Okay. This slide shows examples of the conversations with participants. Their identities were kept anonymous to protect their privacies. The screenshots demonstrate that the participants gave consent, completed the quiz, and shared their feedback. Rather than focusing on individual responses, these slides provide evidence that the awareness activity was successfully carried out, as, as shown in the replies that we got from the participants. As you can see in this slide, this is the results we got from having the participants do the quiz of awareness. The quiz results showed that participants had a strong understanding of the information presented. Most participants answered at least 5 out of 6 questions correctly, giving an overall understanding of about 86%, which is something that we are aiming to have around Bahrain locally. The question that caused the most difficulty were about anaerobic digestions and the difference between avoidable and unavoidable food waste. Overall, this activity was successful in increasing awareness of food waste, which is the main goal of this sustainable development project. Based on my research and practical findings, I conclude that anaerobic digestion is a more sustainable option than landfill for managing unavoidable food waste, because it also allows renewable energy to be produced while reducing landfill uses. However, preventing food waste should also always remain the first priority in everyone's life. I recommend improving public awareness, encouraging food waste separation, and studying the feasibility of anaerobic digestions in Bahrain to further educate the people of Bahrain or the local of Bahrain about this for a more sustainable future and more reduction in food waste, and lastly, the generation of better renewable resources. As we're reaching the closing slide of this presentation, I would like to say that this project is supported by reliable resources, including United Nations publications, the UNEP Food Waste Index report, Bahrain's official waste management information, and the practical evidence collected during this project. Together, these sources support the research, calculations, and conclusion presented. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you find this presentation informative, and I would be happy to answer any questions in the comments.